Have Eric Seltzer with us. He's the Genie expert. He's had a lot to do with creating Genie and writing the TSOGs, which is an important part of how they work. Eric works for Trade Navigator, and that software, of course, is what powers Genie. And importantly, he's also the guy that sorts out any issues that you might have. So whenever you have a problem and you zip up your trade logs and send it to Eric, he's the guy who looks at all the problems. So he's a deep expert in how Genie works. A couple of points for today. First of all, if you are a newbie to this, if you haven't already done so, I ask that you go to the Genie page at the Danielcode website, and you'll see that there are a couple of videos already there. One was done by Trade Navigator about a year ago, and I suggest you go through that in some detail to understand the basics of how the Genie works. The other point is that later on today I'm going to release for you the Trade Tracker, which is a Trade Navigator robot that scores all of the Genie trades. That's now been running since the 17th of March last year, so we've got over a month of data, and I'll tell you how it's worked, but I'm not going to release it to you until about the end of Eric speaking. Otherwise you'll all be scrolling through that looking at it instead of listening to what Eric's going to tell you. The interesting thing is that at that time, that would be March last year, I wanted a really blind test of how this thing's working, and with that in mind I asked Terry Knight, our tech guy, who is familiar to many of you, to run Genie just as the program does. Now, I did that for a specific reason. Terry knows, I don't mean this in any derogatory way, but he knows almost nothing about trading. He doesn't even know what the symbols represent, and he knew even less then. So he was able to come in and without any knowledge of trading whatsoever, he just followed the protocols that are set out with Genie, and he just sucks up the signals with Genie from the trade program, fills in the recommended number of contracts without any views on it one way or the other, presses the submit button, and that's it. Now that's important because with someone not managing this in any way, just simply letting it run, it's returned over 50%, 54% in the year. Now I'm required by law to tell you that's a sim account, a simulated account that runs off Trade Navigator software. Effectively it will give you results very close to live trading, but I'm required to tell you that past results do not guarantee future performance, and that trading sim account is a hypothetical, and you may not get the same fills in a real-life market due to issues of liquidity and what have you. But it does give you a very close approximation of what the program will do. And that program has not been adjusted at all. Whenever Genie's made an error, it's just traded the error. We've had a few errors during the time, but we've got them sorted now. And Eric Seltzer, who's going to be talking to you, his job is to deal with any issues of Genie as they come up. This is a piece of software, so it is prone to various problems, including things like PFG or another trading platform changing its trading hours when daylight saving cuts in and out, and those sorts of issues. But given all the issues possible, Genie has run at better than 50%, and I guess most of you are not making 50% on your account. So this is an opportunity to get very good performance, and you'll see when Eric talks to you, it takes about 3 minutes a day. I've got Terry Knight on the other line. Terry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I'd just like Terry to confirm to you what I've just said to you, that he knew nothing about Genie and he's just followed the rules. So, Terry, if you'd confirm that to the folks independently, that'd be good.
Not a problem. I am a techie guy by profession, and I know nothing of. I've learned everything I've learned through trading from just working with John. I know nothing about a lot of the protocols other than just taking Genie and clicking some buttons and typing in a couple of numbers and just letting it do its thing.
Okay, thank you, mate. So there you are, folks. If you're reasonably literate, if you can read up to 2 digits of numbers and type in up to 2 digits of numbers, you'll be able to run this thing exactly the same way as Terry has. By the way, if any of you want a website done, I suggest you contact Terry. He's a IT guy and a website designer and creator. Any of that sort of work, if you want it done, Terry will do it for you at about a quarter of the price you can get it anywhere else. He's a very, very good guy and very good to work with. Okay, so let's move on. I just had a couple of points I wanted to show you. The main one is going to be the a change that's coming up fairly quickly. Let's have a look here. Webinar. Okay. What I wanted to do was run through with you some of today's Forex trades, because we had some pretty pressing examples of why we're going to change one of the inputs. We had a number of Forex trades today. This is one. This should have been the first one that appeared on your list. This is a Canadian Japanese yen. And as you see, when you look at the chart, it looks like a really nice trade. And it was, but because it was an R trade, our protocol, Ken Dixon knows about this particularly, uses a very, very safe procedure that is really designed for new traders. And that is when it reaches its first target, it'll take off half the position, bank those profits, and then move its stop loss to break even. So when there's not a lot of volatility in this particular market, you'll find that you get your first target all right, but you then get stopped out and you miss the rest of the trade. So that was CAD JPY. These are all yen trades. They all did the same thing. Here's the Euro JPY just coming up on your screen now. It did the same thing and had the same issue. Then we had the GBP yen trade. These were all TO3 plus cells. If you didn't have the plus package, you wouldn't have seen them. So I recommend, if you haven't got the plus package, that you do upgrade. This is the British pound yen cross, and the last of them was the dollar yen trade. And you'll see the same thing. So all of those trades should have been, or could have been, a couple of hundred or more ticks each. They were pretty nice. But because of the strict protocols in the R trade, they all went to first target, stopped to break even, and got stopped out on the balance of the position. So you made some money, but nothing like what you should have. Some months ago, we introduced on the Danielcode trade program the initial risk. We've always shown it in dollars. We're now showing it in ticks as well, and we're going to, Eric's going to write for us an alternate strategy for the R trades, whereby it will use 100% of the initial risk as a trailing stop. So that means it'll still take off half its position at the first target, but you will have the option, if you don't want to be so severe and you're a little more confident in your trading, instead of moving the stop to break even at that point, you will be able to use a trailing stop equal to the initial risk on entry. So your risk isn't going to increase, but for these sorts of trades, it'll follow them down, and you will be exiting at the first profitable close. So that's important. I think that's probably all I have for you at the moment. The important part of this, of course, is to get Eric talking to you. So I'm going to make Eric the presenter. And Eric, welcome. Thank you for your time this evening. And we look forward,
John.
We're looking forward to your presentation. So you are now the presenter.
Okay. Okay, I hope everybody can see my screen here. Thank you, John, for the first part there. Now, The Genie is a series of trade sense order groups that control the trade, but the first part of it is actually the Danielcode Genie window that presents you all of the markets that are there. And I want to bring this up to show you, just like the Danielcode website, the Genie window also goes and presents to you the values for the entry, the stop, and the first target. I'm going to explain my chart that you guys are looking at here in a second. You'll see some lines on there, and I'll get to that in just a second. One of the biggest things about the Genie is getting to the point where you can get in and out in a very quick manner of time. And to do that is organization, making sure that you have everything organized. If in the event that something happens, we all like to think that nothing is going to happen, but you have issues with PFG, or unfortunately if Trade Navigator goes down or something like a server goes down, you get notified with alerts, or you happen to be on your computer at the time that happens, then being prepared and being organized is going to save you a lot of time trying to figure out what's going on. So one of the things that I've done, and this is actually because I was doing a lot of the trade logs and trying to diagnose what had gone wrong, I kind of stumbled across. Okay, so as I was saying, as you're going through these signals, if you submit if you put the lines on your chart like I have on the CAD Chief, Euro, British Pound, and the Australian USD, then you can very easily see what's going to happen when you submit the trade sense order. And like I said, it's just as simple as just clicking on, when you create the chart, go ahead and bring up this is a template I've created, so that way it makes it very, very quick and easy. All I got to do is here, I'm going to go and enter in the values for the corn trade. The entry was at 648, then just hit OK, and then go down to the first stop, and this was first stop was at 649 3/4. Now on the corn, the reason why I wanted to do this one in front of you guys is that the chart is in the carats. Unfortunately, putting 0.75 isn't going to work. So corn trades in 3/4, so it would be carat 6 would be the 3/4 value. Okay, that's weird. Maybe it might. I guess it did accept that. It hasn't in the past. But the DC stop, DC stop is 636.75. Okay. So now, as you can see, as I entered those values in, I hit OK. It's now drawn them on the chart, and we've got those lines on there. Now, once you have those on there, you can see how it's very easy. And everybody has to come up with their own organizational. What the system that I came up with doesn't mean it's the end-all, be-all. Whatever people have, whatever their organization is, then go ahead and use it. The point is, be organized when it comes to submitting these. It's going to help you in the long run. In the event that we all hope there isn't, but if there is an issue, then you'll be organized and you'll be able to see at a moment's glance as to what's going on with the markets. Now, the next step is to take a look at the trade sense order groups. People that are learning the trade sense order groups or have been trading them for a while, and I guess kind of stepping back for a second, what a trade sense order group is, it's a series of orders that have been created for you that will enter your trade, manage your trade, and exit your trade, all in one shot. Once the trade sense order group has exited the position, it will disappear out of this window. Now, here we have there's 3 different types of strategies that have been created so far, and there's going to be some of the sounds of what John was just talking about. There'll be some additional ones that you can substitute in for the default ones that have been in the platform for a little over a year now. Now, in here, in order to help you get used to the rules that are in here, is if you hover over like the DC FPC reverse, you can see it says if closes less than or equal to the DC stop. The DC stop value is the value that that I had entered into the chart, so that way it kind of helps you correlate everything at the same time. So the DC stop value on the Australian USD, move this up, is 1.0331. So if the stop in reverse happens to get triggered, then it's going to submit these two orders right here. But before the stop in reverse can be triggered, the entry has to be filled first. So the as you can see, there's a tree here. This is the trade sense order group main tree, and then you have a leg of the entry. The entry will trigger the stop and reverse, the DC first target, the DC first profitable close, the DC protective stop, and the break-even single. Now, once we get filled, let's just say this isn't filled, but let's just say it does get filled, it's going to automatically submit the stop and reverse and the DC first target. Now, these are what's considered to be conditional market orders. Before these are actually submitted, and all Forex trades are like this on the OTO orders that are being submitted, is there conditional order that will submit a market order on the condition being true. So these orders you're not going to see on your PFG Best Direct platform. If you call your broker, they're not going to see these orders over there because they're not actually in the market currently. They're in the platform waiting for the condition to be true to fire the order off to your broker. So you're going to see a condition false up here like you do on the entry order. And we had to do that for Forex orders because of the fact that we're using the Genesis Forex pairs for our conditions to submit on our live PFG account, because John has found that the Genesis Forex is a little bit better in some aspect as for the conditions because of it taking all Forex data in. But we can't trade on Genesis Forex because it's technically an index. So he just uses it for conditional only, and then he'll submit on the live PFG account. Now, on this particular trade, after you get your entry, you have a stop and reverse that protects you to make sure the market doesn't go in the opposite direction. The DC first target gets you out a little bit of profit, and then the first profitable close is the exit we're actually looking to get out of. In the event that it does hit our stop price, there's going to be two orders managing that position: the DC first profitable close reverse and the stop out 2. When we get in our stop and reverse, the profit target or the profit side of the trade that we're looking for is the FPC reverse. It works just like the first profitable close on the trade if it goes in the right direction. It just basically looks to see if the current price near close is in a profitable position. If so, it exits the trade. If not, it'll be managed by the stop out 2, which is a protective stop to make sure that we're not going to get too much of a loss. So now the break even, that gets triggered when you have your first target hit, and that is actually submitted at entry price. Whatever the price is you get entered, that is the price that the DC stop is going to wind up being at. However, this is only valid if you're in more than one contract. And the reason being is at the DC first target, we take half your position. Well, if you're only in a position of one contract, we can't take anything less than one contract. So at the DC first target price that is submitted from the Genie first window, it will then go and activate either this rule or this rule. If you're in more than one contract, it will dump half the position with this rule right here. If you're in a trade with only one contract, the break-even signal will be actually then submitted, and you won't have any of your position be dumped out at that first target price. And it's pretty much the same way through here. Unfortunately, all the trades that I have submitted right now are all, well, actually, no, excuse me, here's the threes. A threes is a little bit different. Not much, but it's somewhat different. It uses a 1-bar trailing stop instead of a protective stop. It doesn't have the first target, so it dumps out half of your position. It solely gets in on your entry. It has a stop and reverse, just like the week trend, and then it has the first profitable close. It's waiting for the last few minutes before close to see if you're in a profitable position. If you are, it'll exit it. If not, it'll manage the next session with the 1-bar trailing stop, and each new session will recalculate the 1-bar trailing stop until you're exited that position. The other trade that we do not have here is the continuation trade. That is actually a little bit more, it's meant for markets that going to have a big move. It's not as tight with stops, and it doesn't have as much control with getting you out. You pretty much get in on the entry. You have a stop and reverse as well, and then you wind up having a stochastic trailing stop that looks at the DC stochastic value, and depending on where it's at, it'll either submit a 2-bar trailing stop or a 1-bar trailing stop when the condition is met for that. And the idea is that as the market goes up and down in the direction that we want, that eventually you'll get stopped out by that trailing stop. Now, with that also said, one of the things that I think a lot of people have asked me is that how do I know when it was supposed to trigger? Well, unfortunately, you have to know not so much when it was supposed to trigger, but as in knowing the rules and knowing how these are submitted. Future orders at the current moment, the entry is a condition with the market. The stop and reverse, the first target, those are both stop orders, meaning that once those conditions are submitted due to the entry being filled, you'll actually see the stop order on your chart and on the platform from your broker, most likely being PFG. But the first profitable close, that is a market order. And as you're going down through here, you can tell, like with the first profitable close, when you highlight over it, it says if bars left in day is equal to 1 and close is greater than or equal to DC entry plus tick move, then sell at market. Any of the orders that you see that say then sell at market, those are going to be the conditional market orders that the condition has to be true before the market order will be sent off. Any of the orders that basically say tick move stop in the bubble that comes up, those are going to be orders that once they're submitted, you can see them on your broker side, and you can see them in the Trade Navigator working on just to the right of the current bar that's being built, and you can see how close they are. However, in order for you to see those, you also have to turn on your trading accounts bar, so that way you can see those and being on the account. Forex, because we're using the Genesis Forex pair for the condition, and that's the symbol I have on here, keep in mind all of the orders and all of the trades and all of the fills that you've had on the Forex side, we're looking at the conditions on the Genesis Forex pair. You're not going to see those triangles on the chart for the entries and the fills that you've had on the CAD Chief. In order for you to do that, you would need to go and bring up the @PFG symbol, and that may be something that once you get entered in a trade, you can adjust the symbol from the Genesis pair to the PFG pair, so that way you can see where everything's at in relationship to the price and what have you. Once you draw these lines on here as an indicator, it'll translate over to the @PFG symbol. If you use a drawing tool like the horizontal, that horizontal line is going to be associated with the Genesis pair instead of the PFG pair. So you would have to redraw the lines at that point unless you use the indicators like I've used. Okay. Now there's certain times that it is recommended that you check in on your trades. This system isn't a system where you need to be sitting in front of it all the time. It is recommended because any time something can go wrong, it is unknown. So, but there's certain times that it is recommended highly that you are in front of your computer. One of those times would be if you're trading a market, and we'll use grains as an example, when they open, and they open either in the evening for the overnight session or the morning when they open after their morning break, they have a habit of gapping up and gapping down. We've actually built protocols into the Genie that prevent anything from really occurring. That's one of the main reasons why we went to the conditional market orders for the futures. But being at your computer at those times for when the markets are opening for the evening session or taking breaks, just to make sure that everything is running correctly. So that is actually one of the main times that things can go wrong, is when the market reopens. The corn can wind up gapping up to what's called a lock limit or a lock limit down. There could be an issue where the market doesn't open, or there's other issues that can arise that are, I mean, the main issue is with corn and wheat and soybeans is the lock limit up or down, or the gap up and down, and we've taken care of some of those. But another time that you may want to go and log into your machine to make sure everything's running smoothly is at the time that your broker does maintenance. PFG in particular, during that maintenance time, which is only for a few minutes, any conditions that may trigger, because the market is still trading during those times, we will add those trades into a queue. And once the queue goes and has all the orders that would normally have been submitted right away, but because you're disconnected from PFG for the PFG maintenance, as soon as that maintenance period is over and you get reconnected, those orders will be fired off. Well, because I don't know the exact time. I think it's maybe less than 15 minutes. It may be less than 10 minutes. That would be something you'd have to go talk to your broker about on the average time. But you'd want to be in front of your computer to see when those orders were triggered and got filled, about how far they were away, or making sure that you get reconnected to the broker, any of those things. So that way, if you're not getting reconnected to the broker, you can act very quickly to resolve whatever issue that's going on. Alerts is another step. For those of you that are using the NVS servers from us, or you've got NVS servers from a different service, or you step away from your computer, maybe to run to the store, or you have an errand to run, alerts are a really important part of the Genie that needs to be set up. There's plenty of alerts in here. There's the status alerts are really a good alert to get set up for starters, because you can have an order status alert or change that will allow you to, if you go in here, gives you anytime an order changes, goes canceled, goes working, when any of those things, they'll give you an alert. Genesis streaming is down, PFG is down, disconnects from you. It'll fire all of those alerts off to either an email address. You can do a page, but in order for you to do a page, you actually have to have it connected to a modem and a phone line attached to the modem. Play a sound if it's something that you're always in the house. You may be in the kitchen or what have you. You can have it play a sound, so that way if you hear a noise, you know that to go back to the computer and check to see what's going on. Log a message to file, so that way you can have a record of when all the messages have been populated. And then the default is the pop-up message. You can do a lot with the alerts. I mean, you can actually get it to when you want to have certain conditions happen. If you need any assistance with that, just call the support staff, and they'll be more than happy to help you out with that. Okay, so at this point, I think I've covered everything that I had planned to cover tonight. I believe, unless John has anything else, this will be question and answer time.
Thanks, Eric. Can you hear me all right?
I can, yes.
Okay, we have a few questions here. First of all, here's one from Rick Freeman. Eric, so are you having to manually enter the entry, first target, and stop losses for each trade so the trade sense order group can work? TSOGs aren't written to pick up the entry, target, and stops from code, rather than price inputs. Not quite sure where you got that from, Rick, but Eric, you might just clarify that the purpose of the TSOGs is to pick up all the orders, place them with the stops, etc.
Correct. I think what he's referring to, and we may need him to go and write in to go clarify it a little bit more, but by the default trade sense order groups, people aren't able to create variable inputs, so that way they can enter in their own price like you can with Genie. In the background, the Genie window that comes up, those values that are in the stop column and the entry column and the first target column, those are passed over to the trade sense order groups in the background. So those are actually filled in when you submit your trade sense order groups. But if you create your own groups, then you have to either come up with conditions that when this condition happens, go ahead and submit this order. You're not able to use a variable input. It's something that Pete has talked about adding into the platform for people to create variable inputs, but it isn't something that has been added yet at this time. In fact, I'll say something to him tomorrow about getting that so that people can create their own variable inputs, so that way they can type in their own pricing if they want when they create a trade sense order group.
Here's one that's been asked a couple of times. Does a live Genie trade sense group trigger off PFG symbol data or Genesis symbol data? So is that $EUR USD or $EUR USD at PFG? As I understand it, Eric, it triggers off the Trade Navigator data because we found that to be far more accurate than any other trading platform. And once that's triggered or elected on the Trade Navigator data, it will then send the orders to PFG. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
On a simulated account, whether on a Trade Navigator simulated account, that is, it will use the Genesis Forex pair for to see if the condition is true to elect that market into a position, and it'll submit on the Genesis Forex pair. If you're using a PFG demo account or PFG live account, it'll use the Genesis Forex pair for the condition to activate the orders or to fill the orders into a position on the PFG Forex pair.
Okay, and we've had a lot of trouble, folks, with the PFG demo account. So if you're running a sim account, we strongly urge you to use the Trade Navigator data for that. Now, the Danielcode report button opens a window that will display all valid TO3+ signals. This button is located in the top bar in Trade Navigator. Can you show us where this is? You might point to that. It's a big DC. Can you see that, folks? It's a big DC button there. And that's what will you need to be have live data. And once you press that, that will take you to the Genie. Good. Well, that's great. We've got Glennis saying how important the Genie's been to her and perfecting her trading techniques. Thank you, Glennis. We're having lunch soon, I hope. What happens in the live account, Eric, when TN price? Let me see what this is about. Can Eric show them how to get that button in their toolbar? Eric, Terry's asking that question. This is the DC button at the top we were talking about. How do they get that into their toolbar?
Okay, once they have it activated in their account on the Genesis side through Terry, by default I don't believe it actually is there. If you go up to the status word up here at the top and you right-click with your mouse, you'll get the customized toolbars. You can also access this window from underneath the, I usually just click on the customized toolbar icon that is right here. And maybe that's the only area they have it. But if you right-click up the status or you click on the icon right here, then you can bring up this window. And if you scroll down, this will actually activate and deactivate icons across that row.
Terry said it's under, sorry, Eric, Terry said it's under View, and it's the last option.
Okay.
Maybe see if you can find that there for our folks here.
Let's see here. Under View and then Customize Toolbar, it's also got a hotkey of Control plus the letter B. We'll also bring it up as well.
B, should change that to D.
Once you get that up,
you got that, folks?
You'll be able to scroll down the list until you get to the Danielcode Trade Signals, And if the box is unchecked, go ahead and check it, and then you'll be able to see it on your icon bar row.
Okay, let me move on with these questions. What happens on a live account when TN pricing is different than PFG pricing, when TN Genesis data triggers an order at an expected price, but PFG has already passed through that price? This question is a pretty good one, an important one.
Is he referring to Forex?
Well, I'm going to tell him how it works. It's Joshua again. Joshua, what happens is that for futures contracts, all the platforms have the same prices because they're transmitted, centrally from the exchange that trades that market. For Forex, it's not as regulated, and all of these various trading platforms have their own prices. We've had some horrible results with this. Glennis, who's on the webinar, can tell you that. And we saw a trade in one of the New Zealand crosses go from 6-tick spread to 90-tick spread in the space of about 7 minutes. So some of these platforms are entirely dysfunctional, and some of them do that on purpose. And the reason is that with a futures contract, you get the correct prices from the exchange all the time, and the brokers then charge you a commission, and that's quite transparent. You can negotiate that with your broker. With Forex, they don't work it like that. They have a spread between the bid and offer, which should be usually in the major pairs, 2 to 4 ticks, and sometimes 6 or 7 ticks in the secondary pairs. But the brokers load into there not only their commission that the platform wants, but also whatever they're paying to an introducing broker, and then even more to another broker. So that as that spread gets bigger, it starts to work against you. We have found that the Trade Navigator data in Forex, which comes from, I think, 12 separate banks, has over the years been far more stable and far more accurate than any other platform. So how we've designed this thing is it takes its prices from the Trade Navigator feed and then sends the order to the trading platform. Sometimes that may be different and you think you've got in a bit late. Sometimes it may be early and you think you've got in a bit early. But over a period of time, the Trade Navigator Forex data is the best that I've ever seen, and it's much more stable than any others. But so that's why we use it. What is the total cost for Trade Navigator Live Data, Danielcode subscription, and Auto Genie Access? Peter, ask Terry, if you would, support at thedanielcode.com. He will give you all of those prices. From what tab did you put the horizontal lines for DC stop, first target, etc. from? The sound disappeared when you were doing this. Can you answer that briefly, Eric? We're going to run out of time, and I don't want to ask these people to stay much past an hour because they get restless and start to disappear. From what tab did you put the horizontal lines for the DC stop, first target, etc., and why?
Well, I took the values off the DC Genie and turned it into the platform, but you can also go and take them off the website as well. And then because I'm using the custom indicator, I go into the Edit Chart Settings window, and then I click on when you add a custom indicator to the chart, the default name is custom indicator. I rename it from custom indicator to DC entry, DC first target, and DC stop, so I know what that custom indicator is supposed to be when I come in here. And then I just click on the edit function button, and then I enter the price in. And then once I've entered the correct price in, I'll click OK, and I'll go down through all 3 of those values. If you look, I've also got ones for the break even, the actual fill, and the protective / trailing stop. So that way, as the trade progresses and the first target has been hit or the DC entry has been hit, I can remove those and see how far along I am in the trade.
Thank you, Eric. We've now got a question from Bernard down there in Puerto Rico. Bernie and Gabriel, hi guys. Nice to see you in here. Recently I had an SB order, that's sugar, that did not get filled in a very thin market at 1:30 a.m., which I believe had something to do that Genie only fills an order on the first move through an election price. Is that correct? What's the particular reason for this rule? I guess what you're talking about, Bernard, we have a protocol built into Genie that the market has to trade through the price for you to get filled. Eric was talking about this particularly in regard to grains, but it can happen in any thin market. If the market gaps past the first target, then Genie will just ignore the order. And I know that it'll sometimes come back and fill you, but that's not a healthy sign. You don't want to be filled that way. Statistically, that's a bad option, and better off letting it go. Does Genesis need Genesis Virtual Server? Oh, this is Mo. Hello, mate. How are you? Does it need a virtual server? Does Genie need Genesis Virtual Server? And if Genie is free for now, how about Virtual Server? We recommend that you use the VPS or the Virtual Private Server because it offers such great stability. You can run this off your home platform if your internet is stable enough, but if it disconnects, of course, it will lose what's happening in the processes. So how about a free virtual server? I doubt it. That's nothing to do with us. Trade Navigator run the virtual servers. We're going to give you free trials of Genie, but likely you'll have to pay Trade Navigator for the servers. Yeah, Mark, Genie's been a great teacher. Any ETA for the trailing stop implementation? Eric, that's just something you can do in the TSOG code, isn't it? You're going to be busy finalizing Project X this weekend. It's coming out, being released in 7 days. So Eric's weekend is booked up, working on just finalizing the X charts for me. After that, possibly the following weekend, Eric, you could get this done, or during the week even?
Yeah, I just need to get with you to find out what all is going to change, as far as, like, we have the current existing trade sense order group that we're using. Some of that can probably be reused, and I just have to go just adjust the break even over to a trailing stop. And if that's the case, it won't take long to get up and running as far as testing phase. And then once we get it tested, we can get it out to everybody.
Great, thank you. Next question is from Martin Hendy. Martin, hi. Will this work with brokers other than PFG? If so, which ones? And if not, why not? The answer is it will work with any broker, Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, that has PFG, that has Trade Navigator installed as a back-end application. Is that right?
It is on the future side. On the Forex side, PFG is the only broker at this current moment.
Okay, Martin, that answers your question. And there are a number of Trade Navigator approved brokers that have the Trade Navigator back end. Give Eric a call or an email, Martin, and he'll let you know who those are. Which Forex platforms do I recommend? Same guy, Martin again. I only recommend PFG. We've tried a lot of them. In fact, Jerry Winter, who is the Danielcode broker and my personal broker, has done a lot of research on this, and we found that PFG is by far the most stable and has the most reasonable spreads. So you can contact Jerry Winter at Striker Securities. Their details are up on the website if you want to talk about that. Martin, Bruce, do you need a PFG account to trade Auto Genie? Well, you do when you get to live trading, but you don't for sim trading. And it's vital that you people start running this stuff, if you're going to, on a sim or simulated account and get really familiar with it before you go to a live account. And the other thing is, this is Chris, is there a place to find DC Genie results of late? Yeah, just hang on. It's only going to be minutes away, Chris. I'm rushing to get through all this. We're going to show you every single trade that the Genie's made since it started on the 17th of March last year, and show you how to get into there with some things from that. AAR, not quite sure. It doesn't give us your full name. Will another broker work? Yes, same answer. If they are Bird Plus, yeah, Bird Plus Z equals dinner. Oh no, no, God, they're little sweet little fantail things. They're little messengers. Many thanks, Joshua. Thank you. You're welcome. John, some Sundays nights the Genie is late starting. Is this big bug fixed up yet? It's not even on Sundays. We've got an unknown bug that for some reason Genie doesn't click onto the new day's results when they're loaded. And frankly, Eric and Terry between them haven't been able to figure out what that problem is. We've got a number of servers working on this because it's interfacing between Genie's Trade Navigator servers, Danielcode servers, and PFG servers. We have a hunch that it might be our main host, which is GoDaddy in Denver, having some little intermittent stoppages. But that's the this is Ben. Hello, Ben. That is an issue that we're on top of all the time. Terry is watching these signals as soon as they're posted, and if it doesn't click on straight away, please just put a post in forum, and Terry will see that. Okay, that's all the questions we have. So, Eric, thank you for your participation. Thank you for giving up your time. It's after your regular work hours, we know, and you do so much for everyone here that I thank you greatly. Here is the Danielcode website, which you should know is at www.thedanielcode.com, and you'll see, as this is now showing to you, that I've clicked under the Genie tab up the top, and we've now got this new link in there called the Genie Model Account Results. And this is what I was talking about, that Terry has run this without any adjustments. Any mistakes that Genie's made are in here. Any mistakes that have happened from dropouts in the symmetry between PFG and Trade Navigator are in here. There have been no changes to it. It's completely raw and just comes as you see it. So from the 17th of March to date, this amazing little tool has made $54,500 a profit on a average risk of 2% straight out of the Danielcode trade program. And you can see every one of these results. They're all here, and you'll soon see that it works. On its entry, it'll show you 0, and when it closes out the trade further down, it'll show you what the result of that trade was. Now, there's a couple of points I want to make to you. First of all, I've told you this is a sim account, and you may get slightly different results with your live trading. But the important thing to see here is that you can see that this account went up to, still going up, it's still going up, it's still going up. It went up to 165,000, which was a 65% profit in 9 or 10 months in January. And you, at the top, you'll see you can click on for each month. So then January was plus 2,800. February lost 2244, and March is currently negative a little bit. The important thing is to realize that with these, all trading in fact, these results, trading is what we call skewed. In other words, you don't just get a nice flat percentage, you get great bursts and bad bursts. So think about what your time frame is. If you're only interested in seeing this for 2 weeks or a month, please don't bother with a free trial because it'll be a waste of your time and ours. You really need to look at this over at least a 6-month period, and that comment applies for all trading. It's not just us, it applies to everyone. Ours, of course, is better than anyone else's. You can see that with all the errors, problems, losses in February, this thing's still up over 50% in the year, and my guess is that you people are not getting those results, and Genie's a way to do it. It takes, we haven't emphasized this, that it takes about 3 or 4 minutes a day. You just go through the procedures Eric showed you, and it's wise to check at least at market closing time to make sure the trades have been executed as you expected. And also, if you're not using a VPS, you've got to pay close attention to the alerts to make sure that you are still connected and all that is viable now. If you'd like a trial of this, it's free. Please contact Terry. We should have a, I don't know what's happened up here. We should have, here we are, here's the button, contact us. go to the Contact Us button, and you'll see there that Terry has his phone number up there, and he has his Skype up there, DC support. His name is Terry Knight. So please contact Terry by email or by phone or by Skype, and get your free trial of Genie set up, and let it run for a while. Don't be put off by anything that is just a month or less than 3 months, and don't get too excited if you get sensational results straight away. That's just the nature of trading. Markets are skewed, and we don't get all of the same results all the time. So that's it, folks. We've gone a little bit over the allotted time. Let me see if there's any more questions that I haven't answered. Any idea which contract has been the most profitable? Generally, futures are more profitable than futures are more profitable than Forex, and that's to do with the gearing inherent in them. There's apart from that, one of the things that's very different about Trade Navigator, I think I'm talking now to Chris. One of the things that's very different about the Danielcode is that if you look at other advisory services, they'll tend to follow 1 or 2 or at most 3 markets. We trade over 30 markets, and by doing so, you capture the volatility that flows between markets. Not all markets can be dead at the same time, and not all markets can be highly volatile, which for us is good news and wildly exciting at the same time. So by following the Danielcode protocols, you get this. You get to capture the volatility that morphs between markets. So, Chris, if you like the sound of 50% a year plus return, just get on Genie and do exactly what the instructions say. And I wish you all good luck with that. So thank you for your attendance today, folks. I think, is there a free trial of the DC signals in Trade Navigator without Genie? Yeah, you can have a free trial of the website as well. Martin, just get hold of Terry. He'll fix that up for you. How long is the trial for Genie? How long trial of Genie and the website? Trade Navigator will give you a free trial of 31 days. We give you a free trial of 21 days, but for those of you who are at this webinar, we'll make that 31 days. Terry, if you could note that. What size account is recommended to start with? Chris, trading markets is a capital-intensive business. If you want to be able to trade all of these markets, you need a pretty big account, by which I mean probably over 70,000. With 50,000, you'll be able to trade some of the futures markets and all of the Forex. With a smaller account, you'll be tied to the futures contracts that have the smallest margin. That's E-mini at 5,000. The grains in particular have quite a small margin, and you'll find that if you look at the website, you'll see what all those margins are. You'll be able to trade some of the smaller margin futures, but not the big ones. DAX is a biggie, silver's a biggie, but you'll be able to trade Forex. We do have people trading these things on quite small accounts, 10,000 and less, just trading the mini Forex. You won't get the results that we get across the board, because that's part of the nature of the Danielcode, as I was saying to you, that it collects volatility by being so diversified across a lot of markets. But you'll need a minimum of $10,000 to trade mini Forex. Aaron Bruce, the X-Charts, will that be a Genie product? No. They're just going to be a broker-directed account. You'll just open your account with the brokers who are running it, which in this case is Jerry at Striker, and it will auto-trade on that, but with Jerry overseeing it to make sure that the signals are executed as they should be. And that's about it, folks. Thank you very much for your attendance today. Please talk to Eric and Terry about any further questions you have, and I hope that you'll all take up our offer of a free Genie trial if you're not on it already. So thank you. Have a great evening, and thanks for your attendance.